Thank you, Nick. Over the past few decades, there's been growing recognition that P3s play a critical role in a country's economic and social development. However, governments, businesses, and nonprofits often lack the information necessary to identify and capitalize on opportunities for sustainable and effective partnerships. The Concordia Index attempts to address this information gap by ranking countries based on their readiness and their need to engage in P3s. It's intended to be a practical tool for stakeholders across sectors. So, for example, the government can use the index to better understand their partnership environment and structures that affect their investment appeal. Businesses and nonprofits can use the index to identify countries where returns, social and economic, would be maximized. So similar indices tend to focus on the readiness of a country to engage in P3s. That is, they look to evaluate whether the political and the market structures in place are attractive to investors. Concordia's index adds to this by adding the element of need. That is, it evaluates whether there's opportunity for large-scale social impact. The Concordia Index is composed of 40 indicators. And these 40 indicators are grouped into categories, which are then further grouped into 3 macro-level domains: political environment, investment climate, and infrastructure deficit. The political environment and investment climate domains make up a country's readiness score, whereas the infrastructure deficit makes up a country's need score. By combining the readiness and the need score, we arrive at the Concordia Index 2013 overall score. So the beta version of the index that we're introducing today ranks 17 countries that were selected to represent a diversity of regime types, income levels, and geographies. And we're very excited to announce the final results. However, before we do, we think it's very important to note that countries that rank lower on this index are not inherently bad countries, nor are the countries that rank very high inherently good countries. So the reason for this is multifold. First of all, this is a relative ranking. That means countries are ranked and they're compared to each other. Therefore, within these 17 countries, we have many, many other countries in the world that, when eventually incorporated into the index, could rank below or above the ones that you see on the screen today. Secondly, having an excellent partnership environment, as well as having good access to quality infrastructure, is obviously desirable for any country. However, it is not going to rank a country highly on the index. In the index, countries with greater infrastructure deficits will rank higher than those with similar partnership environments, but with lower deficits, because greater deficits mean there's also greater opportunity for large-scale impact. And now, keeping that in mind, we'd like to show you the top 5 countries for the 2013 Concordia Index. Number 5 is Kenya. Number 4, the United Kingdom. Number 3, Ghana. Number 2, the United States. And the top-ranked country for the 2013 Concordia Index is Chile. So before starting the presentation today, some of you may have had a chance to go into the P3 Lounge and explore our website a little bit. And perhaps you were able to change the domain weights, that then you were able to see how it affected the country rankings. This interactivity is really representative of our vision of the index as a practical tool for stakeholders to inform them about P3s. It is not intended to be a static ranking of countries, but rather a tool that you all can use specifically to meet your partnership needs. Now, to really bring the index to life, I'd like to introduce Ambassador Paula Dobriansky. Paula is the chairperson of the Concordia Index Task Force and therefore has been invaluable to the index's development. Paula?
So let's discuss it. Let's give an example. So let's suppose I'm an executive for a large bank, and basically I want to try to identify opportunities abroad. So I refer to the Concordia Index, and basically to use it to try to evaluate my investment opportunities. And then what do I note? I note that Chile is ranked first. So then I think in this case, examining a breakdown of Chile's overall score, I see that Chile has a very high readiness score. So the index identifies enabling political and market structures, including a very attractive commercial tax rate of around 28%. So what do I do next? I confer with my colleagues, and we agree that, Chile has a very attractive environment, and it seems an environment conducive to partnership. However, we want to also ensure that there is an opportunity for high return on investment. So we go to the board. The company's board is also keen to have a large social impact from a very corporate social responsibility perspective. They're looking at how can we contribute. So, referring again to the index, we examine Chile's need score that you heard about. A breakdown highlights sectors where investment can be made and most widely absorbed. So compared to other index countries, Chile's overall infrastructure deficit score is low. But there are some deficits in the transportation and also in the financial services sectors. So how do we go from there? So expanding access to financial services is certainly within my company's expertise and capacity. And basically, using the information provided by the index, I recommend that my company approach the Chilean government to better understand the financial needs of Chile's citizens and how the company can actually come forward and meet those particular needs. So in sum, this is a graphic example of how this innovative instrument conceived by Concordia and with the entrepreneurial leadership of Matt and Nick and the task force that was created that I had the privilege to chair, that how this is what and how it could be used. So think about it. Now Natalie's going to come back up, and there you are, Natalie. She's going to give another example about a different country.
Sure. Thank you, Paula. So taking it now from the government's perspective and how they can use the index. Let's suppose that I'm a government official in Kenya. Taking a look at the index, I'm very encouraged by my country's top 5 ranking. However, taking a closer look at the index breakdown, I see that my high score is primarily driven by infrastructure deficit. In fact, Kenya's ranked number 1 in the infrastructure domain. Therefore, perhaps the index tells me what I already know, that there's a very urgent need for investment in infrastructure in Kenya. Turning back to the index, I notice that compared to other countries that are listed in the index, including fellow African countries, Ghana and South Africa, that my readiness score is pretty low, which means that my market and my political structures are not as attractive as other countries in terms of investment. I use the index dashboard to manipulate the data to see how different policy reforms may affect my attractiveness to investors. So, for example, using the index dashboard, I see that if Kenya can reduce its perception of corruption to the level of that in Ghana, my political environment score moves from 14th place to 11th place. I see that if I can make it as easy to start a business in Kenya as it is in Ghana, then my investment climate score moves from 14th place to 12th place. Equipped with this detailed information and concrete numbers from the index, I'm able then perhaps to convene policy experts to discuss reforms that would make investment in Kenya's infrastructure much more attractive. So we hope that these 2 very simple examples really illustrate the functionality of the index. The index is going to be updated regularly so it reflects the most up-to-date information so that it's usable to all of you whenever you need it. Future iterations will include additional countries, and as P3 activity increases globally, more precise measures of readiness and of need. Additionally, Concordia's P3 Intelligence Division has created country-specific P3 insights that add a little bit of context, or rather a face, behind all of the index numbers. This year, our first 3 P3 insights include youth unemployment issues in Colombia, Egypt, and Vietnam, and they highlight partnership opportunities in those countries. The Egyptian case study can actually be found out in the P3 Lounge, so we really hope that you pick up a copy before you leave and take a look. So in sum, thank you very much for your attention, and we very much look forward to your feedback on what we think is a very interactive and unique partnership tool. Thank you.